Hello, LinkedIn makers and movers. Our guest today is one of the most prolific founder creators on LinkedIn in 2025. He's both well known and known well. He probably doesn't need an introduction, but I'll give it a try. He first hit the LinkedIn radar in the Shopify ecosystem back in 2022, building in public with bold transparency. He quickly made a name for himself and for his company, which offered identity resolution for e-commerce brands so they could email shoppers who abandoned their carts. About 18 months in, he evolved his content strategy to speak to a broader SaaS and go-to-market audience. And what was happening behind the scenes, he was also building a new company, offering that same identity resolution, this time for B2B, helping go-to-market teams identify anonymous web visitors. He coined the approach inbound led outbound, and along the way, he kicked a few hornets' nests, most notably very public beefs with 6 Sense and Mark Kozaglau. But controversy is just one gear. He regularly critiques the status quo and is a vocal advocate for bootstrapping. He delivers sharp go-to-market and business insights via his weekly event series, Unfuck My Startup. And all that pot stirring wasn't for nothing. He's earned 130,000 followers, tens of millions of impressions, and he bootstrapped his companies, retention.com and RB2B, to the tune of 25 million in revenue with a very lean team of, I think, less than 10 people. Largely off the back of his LinkedIn presence. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm LinkedIn famous welcome to Adam Robinson. Welcome to the LinkedIn Famous Podcast, the show where we get real about what it takes to build a personal brand on LinkedIn that gets real business results. We're talking about driving revenue from a personal LinkedIn profile by sharing real and authentic stories and points of view. I'm Brad Zomick, your host and the founder of Spectrumer, a personal brand consultancy that helps founders and executives get LinkedIn famous. Join me for unfiltered conversations from the trenches of LinkedIn. We'll meet CEOs, go-to-market executives, subject matter experts, and company employees with blockbuster LinkedIn results. We'll unpack strategy and leave you with tactical advice to grow your personal brand and demand for your company's products and services. All right, LinkedIn hustlers, it's time to level up.
What's up, Brad? What an intro. I'm blushing.
I try. I think there's like another career I have in emceeing events.
Yeah.
So is there anything about your background that you want to double click on? Tell us a little more about?
So I do not have a background as a content creator, which I think is worth double clicking on. You know, like this is the first organic push I have made. I made one Facebook video ad campaign in 2020 when I launched Get Emails, which is now retention.com. I did a video a week that was a minute long. It was paid ads, and it was me and my wife making these like they were like kind of trolling. It was like very inflammatory videos. So what would happen is we'd like, people just like 10% of the world, when I say what I do, they just hate me. Like not the product.
Yeah.
They hate me for bringing the technology to the world because they think that it is wrong, right? And I'm like, the day that it becomes illegal, I will stop doing it, and so will all my customers. But like, I'm sorry, I'm an entrepreneur. This doesn't seem wrong to me. I'm just gonna make it available. So that makes them even more angry. So I kind of figured out that you could stir the pot like this and sort of less. So I'd make a video that explained what we did, and then people would just write these novels about how big of a scumbag I was. And I'd write them back from the brand account, and I'd like, that's kind of bad. I'd like personally insult them. I'd like go to their page and I'd like make fun of their shirt or something, you know, just something like awful. And they're like, who do you, what is your boss? Does your boss know you're doing this or whatever? I'm like, I'm not the one with the boss. You are. Like just harassing people. So what does social media love more than that? Nothing. Right? Like these books of just like people harassing each other because of this content. So this ads did incredibly well. I ended up stopped doing, and I thought it was really interesting that I kind of had a knack for like doing this. Like I could just sit down for 5 minutes and come up with something that was like informative, funny, and like really, stirring the pot, right? And so like it created this amazing awareness for our company. It was not bringing in the right type of customer because I was doing it on Meta. It was like these, semi-pro, like sort of wantrepreneur or whatever. So we stopped doing those and kind of focused on how to build for bigger customers for a while. And then at the end of 2022, I was just like, we have a unicorn on our hands. We had not focused on e-commerce. We had PLG self-serve product for that. I'm like, oh man, if we like only give demos to big Shopify stores, our metrics will look like Klaviyo's. The churn problem will be fixed, and we have this unicorn on our hands, which by the way, like did not pan out at all. I mean, I'm doing great, but like it wasn't that. But I was like, what's the quickest way to create awareness in this world? And to me, without question, it's like building a personal social media profile rather than like a company one. So that's really what, I mean, I wasn't on Instagram, so that started this motion of trying to become a content creator. And I think if you were like, what's your superpower? I just don't care what. I kind of like learned a little bit from that whole harassment thing that I did. And like, I really just it does not bother me. Sometimes it does. Like the right post when somebody says like the right comment that I'm just like, you are such a dick, like shut up. But most of the time, I'm just like not worried about the fact that whole cease thing you referenced. I was like, when they sent me that cease and desist, I'm like, this is the greatest PR opportunity of all time. Of course, it's going to like make 25% of the world think that I'm just like a lowbrow classic scumbag. I don't care. It's just like not. And that's, I think, what allows me to have such transparency in all my posts. I'm like writing it like I'm talking to my wife. The biggest pushback I get is from our executive team, who by now is used to it. And I like to at least run it by them in advance and be like, if you hate this, tell me why. And then if, I sort of can't defend it, then I'll change it. But like in most cases, I can defend it as like, well, this is what we do and this is working for us better than anything. So like, whatever. If you're worried about what other people think and you're trying to cut through on social media, good luck.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you stumbled into a couple of nuggets early on. Number one, a little bit of polarization, or a lot, is good. And that the subtle art of not giving a F. There's a book by that title.
Yeah, it's bright orange, right?
Yes, it matters a lot. So yeah, that's a really awesome intro to your journey. Before we dig into the early days, I was wondering if you could tell us something about yourself that the audience couldn't learn from your LinkedIn profile or LinkedIn content.
So I live in Austin, Texas, which you could learn, but one of the things that I did a lot before I had kids, I have a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old, is I have a wake surfing boat that I own with this one other guy. And I was like going out at 4 p.m., like 4 or 5 days a week, and enjoying this amazing thing that Austin has, which is a river that everyone calls a lake that is like adjacent to downtown and really makes you feel like you're in nature. So I kind of like love nature, the outdoors, spending time in these bodies of water that Austin has.
That sounds nice and relaxing after the startup grind.
Exactly.
All right, so let's dig into the early days of your creating on LinkedIn. What initially turned you onto it?
So as I mentioned before, I thought I had a unicorn on my hand, which proved to be incorrect, but I could literally walk up to a Shopify store owner, say the 1-sentence description of what we did, and they'd be like, how do I buy that? Right. So it's like, how do I create awareness? Because we had this exceptional moment of product market fit and no competition, which a year later, the whole world had changed. There was a lot of competition, which changed the product market fit dynamic. But so it was like, okay, somehow I need to learn how to do this. And do this, I mean, create organic social media content, building up a personal profile. There was a question of what platform should I do it on? And the two finalists, because it was Shopify that we were going after in 2022, it was Twitter or X or LinkedIn. And Twitter seemed to have a bit more of those guys there, the actual Shopify store owners. They seem to hang out and tweet a lot. But the creator versus user dynamic of LinkedIn was so much more favorable than the creator to user dynamic of Twitter, that creating content for LinkedIn was just far less competitive, and you were a lot more likely to be able to build an audience of 10 or 20,000 followers. And then the plan was to like go see if it could sort of adapt to Twitter somehow. So that was what got it all started. It's like, I want to build up my personal profile. I read Founder Brand. I buy into that. LinkedIn's a place I'm going to start. And I would, by the way, recommend, yep, there you go. I would recommend one channel in the beginning. It's going to suck, but like pick a channel and just try to get good at it. You know?
The great advice there. And actually, it's funny probably how the dynamics have changed on LinkedIn. I wouldn't call it easy anymore. Maybe there's parity with Twitter.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially when I feel like I got a guy out there who copied my business, my content style, and he just added AI to the story. And I don't think his product is any good, but he's getting unbelievable reach and definitely getting tons of people to try his product as a result of just literally pattern matching, you know? So, and he's not the only one that's trying to like, you know, mimic. Look, I don't want to take credit for it, but it's like whenever someone does something that is successful in the world, it's America. Like, you know, you're just going to get a ferocious wave of copycats that then makes what was novel noise. And then you got to figure out what novel is again. You know?
Exactly. I guess once there's a defined playbook, it gets well trodden pretty quickly. Back in those early days, were there any challenges that you faced early on?
Yeah, like
mistakes that you made and lessons learned?
Dude, it was all a big mistake, honestly. Like, I don't even know how else to describe it. The biggest challenge was, to say this in the most clear way, it's like I did not know why I was creating what I was creating. I was sort of listening to a ghostwriter, but not really. And then I wanted to use video. So I was making these daily videos, and then he was just kind of like making a half-ass post based off of it. And it, you know, it kind of bothered me that like the post wasn't good. And like, you know, it just bothered me that I didn't know the game. I didn't know why I was saying or writing the words that I was writing. And, you know, I've been an entrepreneur now for 12 years. I think I've experienced a reasonable amount of success. I'm not the most successful one of all time, but like, you know, probably if you're listening to this, you would agree. My wheelhouse is like marketing and product for creating startups. And I may not always be right. In fact, I'm wrong. I'm incorrect a lot, but I at least understand why I'm making the decisions that I'm making, right? I can like reflect on past experience and, you know, other sort of like examples in the world. And I know why I want to do what I want to do, right? In this whole first year that I spent creating content, some of which, a small percent of which I thought is really good, but like most of it was not by my standards now. I had no idea why I was sitting down typing what I was typing, which is there's a lot of cognitive dissonance in that when you're, you know, sort of along in your career. If you're just starting out, you don't know what it means to actually have mastery of something. So no problem, right? Like it probably feels like anything else. And somebody like Alex Hormozi is motivating you to build a $40 million business in 5 minutes and you think you can or something. But like that was the biggest problem.
And was there some soul-searching moment where you realized this and made a different move?
So in June of 2022, I switched teams because I thought the quality of what I was putting out was not as high as some of the other stuff that I was seeing. So I'd read a post by Sam Jacobs, and I was like, his voice, if you compare first quarter 2023, what I was doing versus what he was doing, his just sounded better and more professional and more real and like whatever else. So I switched to his guy, Alec, and he's stopped doing video. We're just going to see if we can write the best possible text posts, aim them at Shopify stores, great hooks, great closes, you know, a template that works on LinkedIn, and see what happens. See if that like translates into demos or whatever. So tried that for a while, 3 months probably. Meanwhile, We did like kind of a hard downsize in 2023, like a few others did. And I posted about that in like, horrid detail. And of course it got like, I was getting 35 likes on the ecom post and they got over 1,000. It's like, that's interesting. That was in like July. And then and that post was just about what I call the BDR crisis of 2023. It's like put college kids in front of a mouse and let them click and the demos come back. Like that sort of stopped working then, and like, then in around Labor Day, I wrote another post because people started hitting me up and being like, oh bro, like same thing. Like I got rid of my BDRs and we sped up. I don't know what the fuck is going on. It's so confusing. So there was this behind closed doors shared pain between people like me who had previously was like, oh, one BDR can book 2 demos. I'm going to hire 5 and they'll book 10 demos. And you could do that and it worked, right? And then like everyone who tried to do that in 2023 in SaaS, when you hired the extra 5 people to book the other 8 demos, like you just had the 2 demos you had before. That was like the sum of the pain of 2023. And there were several other, there was detail of like other pain around it that I just kept hearing from people. So I wrote a post about that and it was like insane. It was just insane engagement again. I mean, like 3,000 likes or something, right? Like nothing I'd ever seen before. And I was like, whoa, that's really interesting. Alec, Santosh has been pushing me to make a B2B product. I don't know if I want to do it, but if I could write content for these people, then maybe it's worth it. If this is a thing, like the last thing I wrote got 1,000 likes, this one got 3,000. Can I keep writing these posts? So I normally sit down and write 3 posts at once. I batch them. And we were in Santa Fe for this vacation with our friends and our kids over Labor Day. And we had an 8 o'clock dinner. I sat down at 6 to write these posts. At 7:30, I walk out. I'm like, guys, like, because I've been talking about this weird viral LinkedIn thing that had just happened to me, right? Like, guys, I think I wrote 3 fucking bangers. Well, like, see, if they're really bangers, then I really understand what this platform wants from me. And if they're not, then I'm just as lost as I was before, right? And then, like, sure enough, bang, bang, bang. They were all like these colossal, extremely viral posts. And from that moment on, I remember calling my co-founder Dan and being like, I can keep writing these posts. Now I get it. I understand from me what this platform wants. And then that parlayed into, well, we should sell these people something, so.
I've heard you talk about content market fit. Is that the moment that you found it?
I would say so. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, without a doubt, right? It went from stuff that was for what it, look, one of the things that I was conflicted about when I didn't know what I was writing was like, I'm not an e-com guy. Like, why would an e-com store owner listen to me about anything? My business is nothing like theirs, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Versus Nick Sharma, who runs an agency that makes landing pages and does email marketing for them, right? Like,
Of course.
He's literally like converting prospects into buyers all day long and can talk about e-com till he's blue in the face. And he owns some brands too. Like, why would they listen to me? That was something that really bothered me. So it was very clear to me why people in software would listen to me. All of a sudden I went from being somebody who's kind of irrelevant to, if you're an early stage founder, I'm probably ahead of you and more experienced than you. And by the way, no one else is writing anything like this. That's at the stage that I am. Like, if you work for a startup that's at a later stage than me, you probably want to be the CEO of a bootstrapped, profitable 25 million ARR SaaS. So like that whole world, I was kind of like relatively a high status individual, providing an unbelievable amount of transparency about my journey for the stage that I was at. And it's just stuff that people don't talk about, right? So yeah, that I think for me was content market fit. And these people live on LinkedIn, early stage SaaS founders, sales leaders, marketing people, they do their jobs. They spend a significant portion of their day on LinkedIn. So there's like a platform, there's like a author platform audience fit as well there,
Yeah, you struck the nerve. How things evolved from there. So this was, the tail end of 2023 where you pivoted. And now we're
Yeah.
18 months later. What happened along the way since then?
I've never written a post since then. I have not written a single post referencing anything related to e-commerce other than to report on my SaaS. But I still don't reference anything related to e-commerce. I've talked about a customer or two, but not to be like, hey, other customers come use our product. It's like, we did our first enterprise deal. We closed American Eagle or whatever. So it stayed that once it was like very clear that I had the text post down, Alex, okay, you can start doing video. And then I just started copying how Chris Walker was doing it because I thought it was just so effective. This just like talking. It's kind of just me rambling for a few minutes about sometimes, like a lot of times it would be like this, and like my video girl would like be kind of interviewing me and then they'd edit it. But it wasn't the identical content of the post. It was similar. I don't think it did as well as if we knew there was going to be a huge text post, we wouldn't put a video on it. But I think that did like this miracle thing to where now I can show up at a SaaS event and people don't even say their name when they say hi. They like don't even, well, it's as if they were like listening to me yesterday, talking to me yesterday, which I'm sad. It doesn't appear, everybody I'm sure is saying the algorithm's changing a lot. Like I'm like seeing a bunch of weird shit too. And like one of the things that I'm upset about is that style of talking head doesn't seem to be performing well. It seems to like really be holding a post back, which my guess is they're trying to prioritize creation of video for the feed rather than that type of video, like the TikTok thing they got going on in the app.
Yeah. It seems like they redesigned the app where the video takes up the whole screen.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I just have been so busy with other stuff. I've just stopped making them, the talking heads, and I've just, I'm focused on other shit right now, but like I fundamentally love video, like the power. Some of these videos people like I've like they've watched for 400 hours or something, right? Just think about how crazy that is. If you can, like before I started on the journey, I'd seen it happen to myself. I fell into an info product funnel with a business coach who started a business called Big Commerce. He's not a business coach anymore, but it was one of these classic webinar to make you feel like shit about yourself. Spend $3,000 and like my courses will teach you how to be rich. And then if you want to talk to me, it's $5,000 a month for an hour. But you have to apply and I'm too busy. I'm not taking anybody. Right. So I'm like, I have to work with this guy because he knows everything and whatever. And then, but that was after I watched all of his courses. I was like, man, if I could just talk to this guy, he'd fucking solve all my problems. So I finally applied and he got back to me and I was like, this is amazing. And we're doing this intro call and it's just over Hangouts or Zoom or something. And the craziest feeling I've ever had is feeling like I just spent the prior 2 entire weeks doing all of his courses. I knew everything about him. I knew his wife, like where he went on vacation, like everything. And then this guy's talking to me like I'm a total stranger. And it was just this weird feeling inside. And I was like, man, the day that I am able to take advantage of this power, I'm doing it. So that was like what inspired those Facebook videos. And then when I started doing this, I wanted to also do the video thing because it's just doing something very different than the text post does, right? Like people getting to know your gestures, your face, your voice too, right? It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, it's a kind of like the effect that a podcast has. You listen to the same podcast enough, you feel like you're best friends with that.
Yeah, totally.
That person. And now you have a lot of friends everywhere.
Sure do.
Did anything else evolve in, I guess, your approach to content from then?
I would say it's constantly evolving. I did this crazy thing where when I thought I was going to make a unicorn, I wanted to document it like on video. So I hired this amazing woman named Christy Ellington. And on my YouTube channel, it's called $1 Billion Challenge. And they actually made it the whole 3.5 hours, one episode, if you want to watch that way. But they made 18 10-minute episodes that was like the journey of basically this intense excitement going up every day, me thinking I, have a multi-billion-dollar company on my hand, and then all of that crashing and burning
Yeah.
in lurid detail, and so I would never recommend that someone do that, because I think that the odds that you're going to get the team right for you and you're going to be able to be transparent enough to make it interesting is like very low. Most business content really sucks. It was really expensive. It's probably a few $100,000. I didn't know it was going to be that expensive in the beginning, but if people watch that, like, they now have a connection to me that could be formed no other way. I get messages every once in a while. They're just like, dude, I sat there on Friday night and watched all 3.5 hours of that. I have never felt the pain that I am experiencing expressed in video media that clearly ever before in my life. So that's an amazing thing. I think if I started feeling really good about one of our products again, I'd probably start doing it again, probably only to crash and burn. But that's an example of something that I was like, oh, this is awesome. And this was before I understood the LinkedIn game. So yeah, it's on ice right now. I'm not doing that kind of stuff. So I have made a couple attempts at trying to be better at YouTube. I have recently given up before I even started the second time. We have this live show, which is every Tuesday. It's pretty amazing, in my opinion, that we get like several hundred people, between 400 and 700 every week, to come live to a B2B show, right?
Yeah,
And it's because it's entertaining and we get interesting guests and there's audience participation. It's kind of like Shark Tank. It's fun, but it's nothing compared to like Greg Eisenberg's YouTube channel, and he misses and he gets 50,000 views, which means like 5,000 people are making it to the end. A good video gets 500,000. So I'm like, it's obviously very tempting. I was going to try to make another show to try to do some of that on YouTube, and it's just distracting. I just think I just don't view myself as having conquered LinkedIn yet. There's still more we can do with LinkedIn. I can get better. I can get more people posting from my team. I can get them better. And LinkedIn I think the most incredible thing is, like, YouTube wants to get you to watch more YouTube videos. They don't want you to leave YouTube. LinkedIn might not think that they want you to leave LinkedIn, but the fact that the visit my website link is under your description drives 100% of our traffic. I don't know how else to say it. It's the most incredible. So the audience is there. The valuable part of the audience is there. Whereas YouTube, I think the valuable part of the audience is there too, but they're watching other shit, and a lot of unvaluable people are watching your stuff. And there is not that direct flow through. And I think people on LinkedIn are on their desktop too, like a lot.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. I think that's
So
good.
like people are arriving. I think it drives a ton more traffic to your site, and they're arriving in a way that is more conducive to like actually flowing through to signups or whatever. So I want to get RB2B into a much better spot than it is now, which is a funny thing to say, but given where it is, but it's just, I want to, and then maybe start going after some other channels. But like, yeah. And then LinkedIn in particular, like I mentioned before, like I've just stopped doing talking heads for now because they were just absolutely decimating the reach of my posts. I want to try, man, there's this amazing Greg Eisenberg video, which we can drop a link into the show notes, but it's with this guy. His last name is Cole, and he teaches ghostwriters. And the guy is showing Greg how to use AI to not write your post, but design your post to hit way harder than it would have hit otherwise. So yeah, starts. I'll send you a link afterwards. It's an hour. It's like, to me, it was transformational in my understanding of how AI was supposed to be used. Right. And they're like, it starts with a half-baked idea. And then they give it an example of a great hook that he's written. And then Cole's general idea is, look, we're so trained at this point that by reading a hook and scanning the post, we have extracted, without even knowing it, the kind of 3 main points to this article. And a great writer has decided what those are before they even start writing. Someone who sits down and just wings it, like Greg Eisenberg or me, is not a great writer. We happen to be in a position with status in our ecosystem that we can afford to be not great writers and the content still resonates incredibly deeply. But a truly great writer has hashed out the bones of the post before they start writing. The interesting thing to me was it's actually, so like AI can make each of those things much better by just like showing you a breadth of options, right? And opening your mind to stuff you weren't thinking about before. Making all of that better will make the post hit much harder. But it's still hard. It's hard. It's like hard brain work. It's like kind of learning a piano piece or something. It's not like it's any easier than writing. Like it's still really, it's a pain in the ass to go through working with this thing. But Cole's point is this is the way an editor works. This is the way a newsroom works, right? There would be this half-baked idea and he would tell a couple journalists to go bring them back basically the architecture of the story, right? And if you use AI that way, it will literally make you a great writer. So then you get these points and then you write it yourself, right? Like you don't really need AI to contribute that much if you have the framework of the post. And then it comes across feeling much more human and authentic also. So I haven't started doing that yet, by the way. And it's like something that I want to do. I've been quite busy recently for a lot of unrelated reasons to this. It's something I want to do.
Oh, yeah, 2 young kids.
Well, even business wise,
Yeah,
it's just been the content stuff for me was like front and center when we launched our B2B. And now I'm like really into a few other aspects of it. Like we made this bet on AI customer support early on. We used Intercom's Fin. It was kind of shit for the first 3 months we were using it. I have an engineer who's running our support operation and he just plays with this thing all day long. So he like corrects its responses and whatever else. And then he got it up to 50% correct answers. And then they asked for a human for everybody else. And it's self-reported by the user. Did this successfully answer your question? And that's how Intercom gets paid, $1 per successful resolution.
Yeah.
Then last weekend, all of a sudden, I don't know, OpenAI changed their models or something. It jumped to 75% resolved and it's holding there, right? So that's what's going to keep happening. You know what I mean? So like building your business around AI has this incredible upside to it because pretty soon that number is going to be 99. It just will be. If you create your documents well enough, it will be able to answer any question at some point, right? So that's on the customer support side. Until last week, we were trying to get somebody on the phone because we thought we were able to do bigger deals, even though it was like a PLG. So we're trying to do sales assisted PLG. Long story short, we're not really able to do larger deals for a bunch of reasons. So I'm trying to build the sales and marketing side. Fin is built to be zero touch AI first and then tell that story, right? We have 3 founders. I got 3 people working on this thing. It's 5.5 million ARR now. Like the future is you want to be 15 million ARR and you got 1 guy doing the sales and marketing and you got 1 guy doing the customer support and you got 1 guy coding and that's it.
Well, that's certainly what you see in the headlines on LinkedIn, in the LinkedIn feed.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you usually write, well, or at least a few years ago, you were writing once a week. What does that look like today?
Yeah.
How do you keep the train on the tracks and plan in advance?
Yeah. So 1 post goes to promoting our weekly show. So it's not easy, but it's easy. I mean, the 1 is going there. It's clear what the post is. And then I'll do a monthly update. So once a month, that's pretty straightforward too. And then the rest of the time, it's like, I would say a pretty steady, if you want to call them pillars. I thought brand was going to be one for this year because I wrote a post about, there's a lot of reasons why brand is a great content pillar for LinkedIn, for marketers in particular, because they all want to spend more money on brand and no CEO will let them. So like you could be the champion of brand as a CEO and like you could really rally. And I had a huge post about it. They kind of mimic this guy, Preston Cody, or on the D2C side, he was a founder of Chubby's and he talks only about brand on LinkedIn. So anyway, I thought that was going to be one. Now that with this recent move, this 3-man AI startup, it's like the best content. I mean, it's just awesome. And there's like in 2024, for example, it was like bootstrap versus VC. Is there anything interesting that's happened that I can sort of comment on or any conversations I had that really that really tell a story of some pain related to that, or I wish I would have bootstrapped kind of stories. There was a future of go-to-market stuff, which I was like hoping to swap out with the brand pillar, but now it's going to be like this AI pillar. And then like work, kind of like tactical work in public stuff. Oh, I changed pricing and I thought this was going to happen, but then this happened. What did I get wrong or whatever? So with those as things I'm kind of always thinking about, what's coming in front of me that like fits into one of those. I have a weekly 1-hour meeting with Alec, who's my consultant, about ideas. And we keep a Notion doc where I'm just kind of constantly putting ideas into it. And by the way, I think this is like something that I wish I would have done much sooner. Kept an ideas doc. And I actually got this from Mark Cosulo. If you just write ideas down, then when you go to write a post, if you get writer's block on one idea and there's 9 more, the odds that you're going to get writer's block on the other 9 is close to 0 in my experience. One of them you will be able to write a full post on that's actually quite decent. So that was a big breakthrough. It's like this Notion doc where we're coming up with ideas. And then kind of at the end of the idea meeting, we try to suss out the hook and the main points of 3 posts that I'm going to write at some point that week. And if I can leave that call with that, then it's like no problem. It's half an hour each post, maybe even less, and like I can knock them out. Right. So and then when I was making talking heads, maybe once every 2 weeks would record 6 in a row of them with my video guy or whatever. And I mean, yeah, that's basically it. Like he does the calendar management and sort of figures out what's being posted when and all that stuff. And then I've been very busy with other stuff recently, but I used to be like kind of like a Nazi about responding to everybody's comments.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons why I don't get as much fulfillment from doing it now is I can just tell that probably 80% of them were people that didn't read the post in the first place, and it's just an AI comment.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There's
so like
that happening.
If I know, if I know someone read the post and the comment's real, and I'm going to write something meaningful back and like, it will mean something to them, that's highly motivating to go answer comments. If they didn't read the post the first place, and then I write something and they read it and they don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's almost like I should get a bot that answers the bots that these guys have, right? Like
to be your next company.
Yeah. The bot.
Awesome. So I'm kind of curious about impact. Obviously, we talked a lot about the metric results under business and the awareness. Like, what's going on, I guess, beyond like the business, and what was surprising, both positive and negative?
I mean, honestly, I can't think of, look, okay, a negative it would be impossible to say that this is not negative. There's a couple guys, like they will literally any chance they get to smear me about anything. These guys are like piling on, jumping off the top rope, saying I'm spyware, I'm a scumbag, I'm stealing everyone's information, I'm sending people's customer data to like their competitors, like behind their backs or whatever. It's just, so that's the only downside I think that comes to mind. I think another downside that could be in my future that is not yet is Scott Lee says it's basically his entire advisory business, like consulting, advisory, fractional business. And I feel the weight of it because I can't sit there and write 7 posts in one sitting. So it's every day I got to get up and put something out. It's been so long I've been doing this and it's no longer exciting to me.
But this is your feeling, or this is what
that's Scott Lee's.
Okay.
He's a sales. So that is to say that would be a huge problem in my life if that came to be at some point. I just hardly feel like I'm spending any time on content now. Like, I don't know, like I'm like really just doing other stuff and writing. I think when I was a year and a half ago, I might've gotten burnout on that. But yeah, if it's just an hour or 2 that I'm writing per week, it just hardly feels like it's anything.
Well, you're doing something right. We're getting towards the end. I wanted to get into the lightning round. So I got a few questions here, and these are kind of rapid fire. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. First one. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I think I'm an introvert unless I know the person, and then I can get extroverted.
I get a lot of surprising answers from that one.
Yeah.
To some people who are profound like yourself on here, you would think very chatty with anybody. Do you think LinkedIn in its current state is overrated or underrated? And why?
I think it depends on what you're selling, but if your audience does their job on LinkedIn and you are your audience, I think it's almost impossible for it to be overrated. Like the idea that leaders of companies who qualify there would not be investing a huge amount of time in trying to nail the content creation game. It's just crazy to me. It's just this incredible brand effect.
Okay. Great answer. What is a trend on LinkedIn or a tactic you wish would go away?
Honestly, I wish the comment for DM me, comment RB2B and I'll send you the PDF. I wish that would go away.
Yeah. You know what I hate when they do that and then they send you a landing page where you still have to put your email in. That's messed up.
Yeah. Yes.
If you were running LinkedIn for a day, running the product, what is something you would change?
I think I'm kind of stealing this from Chris Walker, but I think I would reward the best creators more. He seemed to think that once you got to a certain point, your reach actually went down. But I think I would tilt the algorithm even more to reward the people who are creating the best stuff even more.
Yeah, I gotta imagine that's a little tricky because they probably want to make room for new people and they want more people creating so they can get their ads. But
yeah, you're probably right.
From your perspective, I get it.
Yeah, but if it's a handful of people, how many impressions is that really? I don't know. Yeah.
Right. Let me ask you this next question, and maybe you get this one when you go to events. If somebody comes to you who's like where you were in 2022, they're a founder, and they want to start building their presence, what's the first thing you tell them?
Just start and probably look at all of my posts with above 1,000 likes. See if you can rewrite them with your fact pattern, right? Take the architecture of the post and put your story on it and see if it works. Because the essence of that works. That's what 1,000 likes is telling you. It's like, can you bend that to you, right?
That makes sense. Feel like an artist is what they say.
Yeah. The more elegant way of saying it.
The last question, who are you following and learning from on LinkedIn, or who do you think is crushing it?
Man, that's a good question. Honestly, I don't spend much time on it, which is like probably one of the reasons why I can continue to do well or whatever. But I love Preston stuff about brand.
Man, Preston Rutherford, I think. Right?
Yeah, sorry, not Preston Cody. Yeah, Preston Rutherford. Yeah, and Chris Walker, he is not creating content on LinkedIn anymore. He's doing something in Instagram. I don't know what it is, but man, his hooks were fire. Like he's just so good at hooks that like whenever I'm like hurting for a hook, I just go back to the last few months of Chris Walker's and just like, there will be one there for me. And his tone is also really just so good. It's like so convicted. And then I think Greg Eisenberg is like the master of FOMO. He's like writing about how like generational wealth is going to get created in the next 12 months. If you don't start building AI tomorrow using my startup ideas, like you're just confident. He's incredible at that. He's really good storytelling too, but I'm sure I think he's a great writer. I think he spends a lot of time thinking about content, like a lot, but I think he's also really good at getting AI to help him.
Yeah, I watched one of his videos a few weeks ago. I think he was interviewing one of these AI wonderkinds, making some crazy stuff. Pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the classic YouTube content, by the way. It's like it's like two heads and then a computer screen. And then the person is just doing something you've never seen before with generative AI, you know?
Yeah. It made it look like way easier than it probably really is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we're at the end of the road here. Is there anything exciting going on at the Retention RB2B that you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, go to rb2b.com and play with me the world's first AI account executive. Like, we're making our entire sales operation happen with this AI bot. You just click on the bottom right of the screen, start talking to it.
That
You get
is
demo.
cool.
You can ask it any questions about anything. Yeah, we're trying to have 0 phone calls with the same effectiveness of demos.
That we're in the future. Well, that's amazing. Everybody know RBB chat with Adam or AI Adam. Also, go follow Adam on LinkedIn. If you're living under a rock and don't know who Adam is, then this is the first time, you should definitely follow him. And until next time, let's stay connected.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you, Adam, for your insights and sharing your story. It's great learning from you.
Rock and roll.
If you enjoyed this episode, follow Brad and Spectimer on LinkedIn for hot takes and tactical executive branding advice. For the readers in the audience, subscribe to LinkedIn Famous on Substack. And if you really love this episode, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting platform of your choice. Until next time, stay bold, authentic, and keep on creating.